This is my old diamond stone. Yeah, it's an old one. So it's a hollow box, and it's diamond encrusted coating, which I felt wasn't really doing it for me anymore. So I bought a new one, and the new one lives in a box. And it was a kit that I bought. So it's you can buy just that bit, which is a solid flat piece of steel, and it's 400 grit one side and 1000 grit the other. All right. Again, it's a diamond sharpening stone. All right, and it fits into this little frame, and it's an Axminster Rider product. All right, so the stone and the frame and the leather strop, you know, when you go to the hairdressers, or now you get these guys that trim your beard and that, and they strop the blade on the leather just to polish it up. Similar thing. All right. You also get one of these, which is a tool. This is a tool to hold your blades at the right angle. All right, and it's really good actually. Even I still use it, you know. That whole kit was about, I think it was about 100 quid. Sounds like a lot of money, but these aren't cheap. All right, so we'll just pop this in for you. We'll set it at 400. So 400 is the coarsest grade. All right. So if you happen to have a chisel or a plane with a little nick in it, and I'll show you one, all right? If you happen to have a chisel or a plane with a little nick in it, like that, that's my old chisel, all right? You can see how much has worn down, look, over the years. So I have an old set of Stanley chisels, and I've got a new set of Marples chisels, and people argue that they're a little bit soft, and maybe they are, but they're sort of my general hacking chisels. This is my favourite one. This is my Stanley Fat Max chisel, and it's a 2-inch one, and you can see the two bevels on it. You've got the grinding bevel. Let's show you what that is. Degrees. The primary bevel is 25 degrees, and the sharpening bevel is 30. And the idea is to just sharpen the tip, so you can see where that one's been sharpened. Hopefully you can see where that one's been sharpened, the two tips on there, really nicely. Yeah. I actually did this on a Tormek machine, which is a wet running wheel. Really, really good. Bit expensive, bit heavy to cart around with you in the van. This is the next best thing. All right, but you'll see where one of these has been done. One of these has been done at work, and you can see the primary bevel, and then the idea is that you do the primary bevel and then just sharpen the tip, but that's not been done very well. All right. As you keep sharpening it, that sharpening angle will go further and further. Will go further and further along this edge. All right. As it goes further and further along, it will become harder to sharpen. So then you have to go back to the primary bevel, the lower angle, yeah, 25 degrees. And then again, you'll just sharpen the tip, the first sort of 2 or 3 mil of the tip. But you see that one, you can just see that, all right? You can see that it's not very even, all right? You also need to flatten off the back of the chisel. So you'll see, probably quite good to see on this one, you'll see the little grainy marks in the steel. Yeah, so under a microscope that will look like a mountain range. But then when you look at the back, can you see it's kind of polished? All right, so that we achieve with just slicing a bit off the back. All right. Waterstone, you've got 400 grit. On the other side, you've got 1000 grit. So use the 400 grit to do the primary bevel and to get out any nicks in the stone, in chisel, and then you use 1000 grit to provide that nice sharp edge on it. And once you've got that nice sharp edge on it, you'll polish it up on the leather strop. Just polish it up. And to lubricate the strop, we use a bit of wax. I'm going to put this on the radiator just to warm up a little bit first because it's been cold. Water stones, you can use water. I tend to use Windoline, all right, because it doesn't rust the stone. All right. Have some paper towel with you, all right. And then I bought this little gadget because I like the gadgets anyway, all right. And this will tell you what angle your chisel is sharpened at. So we find 25 degrees. That should be our primary bevel, you see. All right, and then 30 degrees is our sharpening bevel. You get that, yeah? So there's your 30 degrees, that'll be your sharpening. Now you'll see there's various angles on there, all right? So for instance, a paring chisel has got a very, very low angle because it's made to pare down and just trim off end grain. So that's a very low angle, normally 20 degrees, all right? Some of the low angle block planes have a low angle as well for sharpening, but I've just found that quite useful. It's quite useful for demonstrating as well, all right? So we're going to give the stone a bit of a lubrication in a minute, but just before we do that, you'll just have a little look at this. So for chisels, it will tell you your primary angle, all right, and it will tell you your secondary or your sharpening angle, and then you've got the same up there for planes. You've got primary angle, sharpening angle, and then that one says difficult grain, all right. Now you get your little sharpening gauge, all right. You put your chisel in there, and if we're going to do, look, you see the angle that's at as well. Look, it's not even square, is it? Yeah. See that? Yeah. So we're starting off at 400 with this. It's probably going to be hard work. And we'll start off with a primary bevel, all right? So there's a couple, I don't know if you can see that, there's a couple of grooves in there that the edge of the chisel fits into. And then what we do to get the bevel right, of a screwdriver. So to get the bevel right, put your chisel in the guide, and then you offer it up to the edge of the board, and then that's your 25 degree primary bevel. All right. It's also written on the side. I can't read that without my glasses, but you might be able to. So it will tell you the projection, the chisel projection to suit the certain angle, and then the plane projection to suit the certain angle, and the plane sits in the top, in that top bit because it's wider. There's various, you can buy various makes of this guide. This was the one that came with the kit, and I'm very happy with it actually. It's very good. I've used one since I was about 14 actually, long time ago. Right, before we start, just a slurp of coffee. Bit of lubrication. Got our towel ready. And we're going to go even pressure on both sides. Actually, having said that, because it's got a outer square on it, we'll go on the left. And then you're aiming for, if you can see that, you're aiming for circular motions, look, circular motions. Some people will say cut it on the backstroke, but you want to try and go for even wear on your stone. We call it a stone because years ago we used to use oil stones, right? And a real sort of odd fact, I was working for a high-end kitchen company doing their little maintenance jobs, and I enjoyed it actually. And they flew a couple of their joiners over to work with me, alongside me. And the old guy actually used the Tormek. So the Tormek is a wet running, it's a manufacturer's name, Tormek, but it's a wet running grinder. The trouble with that is very good, very efficient, very quick, but it does use quite a lot of the chisel up, you know, it wears your chisel down quick. And the younger guy who was with him, who was in his 20s, used an old-fashioned oil stone. Yeah, he didn't even have a diamond stone. So you can see we're starting to wear the metal away there now. Look, you see that extra. It's going to take us a while. So what we might do, I'll carry on. You go and have a cup of coffee, and I'll get you back. You just see where it's lavering up there. It's just lavering up, and you can see that the metal's wearing away. All right. There you go. Look, we're getting further and further. All right. I'm just going to wipe off some of the excess and then irrigate it with some fresh windling. All right. So notice my body's, I've lined the stone up and I'm centred up. I'm not over there like that, and I'm not over there like that. I'm actually centred up and I'm trying to keep myself square to the stone. With the smaller chisels, there's a tendency for you to rock or to lean one side and then get them off square. So this is 400 grit. Alright, so the lower the number, the coarser it is, okay? And then the other side of this is 1000 grit. Now if I put the chisel onto the lever with the cream, I think it's equivalent to 4000. All the way across, so I'm actually having to take, each time I do a stroke, I'm taking all of that off. Alright, so you see the point of having the primary bevel and then the sharpening bevel, you're just sharpening the little tiny bit. So there you go, that's what it should look like. Hopefully if I do that you can see the two bevels. Alright. Unbreakable chisel, steel shaft going through it, and you can hit it with a hammer. Good for hinges, you can get hinges nice and flat. Good on roofs as well. Unbreakable handle. I managed to break it. Don't know how, but there you go. Stanley Fat Max. I might spin it round just to get a bit of even wear. So obviously it would be water, or they do a special lapping fluid. I tend to use Winderling, yeah. It's less likely to rust than normal water anyway. And the lapping fluid, I've only seen it in little bottles like that. Bit of lining paper just to protect my bench, new bench. I'll probably do a little video on the new bench so you can see what it's all about. But had a bit of a touch on Sunday actually. I picked up a second-hand vice. And that's made all the difference then. It means I can, any videos that I do for the beginner's course, I'll be able to do all the real stuff for you then. rather than just working on a workmate. Using my fingertips, even pressure on the front of the chisel. Trying to keep it straight. So putting the primary bevel on 25 degrees. Let's get a little bit of that excess fluid out of there before it goes everywhere. Nice little sort of rubber housing for it as well. You see my other box where it had got wet. Nice box, but where it got wet, you know. Real good little system that. I've forgotten how much hard work this was actually. When the chisel's, you know, that bad. So I'd normally take them into work and put them on the Tormek. Let's get into a little bit of a burr on there now, alright.